And she's someone as well that likes to go with the flow. She's very nervous. Please welcome Fatima Al Attar.
Master of Ceremonies, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. Good evening.
Good evening.
There once was a boy who excelled in sports and academics too. He was kind, funny, and thoughtful. He even looked like Brad Pitt. He was helpful, always willing to lend a helping hand. His village was poor, so he was a supporter. He was an inventor and a philosopher. He always looked for the future, and he always hoped for the best. He was number one in a small fish tank. One day, he got a golden opportunity. And that opportunity was to study at an elite school on scholarship in his country. He celebrated at the opportunity. He was excited. He wanted to go, study, bring back the case practices, learn as much as he can, because he wanted to help his village. So, he went on his journey and started. But when he got there, he found out the reality was not as it seemed. You see, although he could run fast, everybody else ran faster. Although he studied hard, everyone else got higher grades. Everybody dressed better than him, looked better than him, talked better than him. He was at the bottom of a big fish tank. So for the first month, he studied hard. He practiced running as fast as he could. He cut his hair, groomed himself, but he saw no improvement. He began to feel disappointment. How is it that I worked so hard, but I'm not seeing any results? He tried a little bit more for a few weeks. Nothing changed. He started to feel really shaky. He wanted to go back home, but he was afraid to go back home. He was number one at home, but he couldn't bear going back and telling them that he was at the bottom in this school. He couldn't bear the fact that he was failing for the first time, so he fell further into despair. And he started to live a hopeless life. He never picked himself up after that. He gave up. Went through the school, barely passing. Went through life, barely learning anything, because he gave up too soon. How many of us have given up too soon? How many of us have stopped just before the finish line, just when we were so close? When I woke up today, I was faced with a series of challenges. It was raining all night, so going to work was a challenge. I could have called in sick and said, I'm not going to make it. But instead, I chose to do the impossible, getting into my car while it was surrounded by a puddle. Of course, I had to perform a few acrobats to do that. Nevertheless, I made it to work. Work proceeded fine until our VP Education asked me for a small favor. She wanted the agendas printed. I was so eager to please today that I agreed to it. But little did she know the hassle I went through printing these agendas. The first printer failed on me, and so did the second. The third as well. It wasn't until I reached the fourth printer that I managed to print out our agendas. I didn't give up at that point either. The last point of tonight that I was so tempted of giving up in was when I was leaving my house. Now, as you all know, I normally have black pants and a colorful top. I decided to mix it up today. I decided to wear my fancy beige pants with my black top, mixing it up. The floor outside my house was slippery, and I managed to do a split. And in the process of doing that split, well, I won't tell you what happened to the clothes, but I had to change, causing me to be late. Now I had a dilemma. Either I don't make it for the speech, and the grammarian doesn't make it to the speech, or I make it to the speech, the grammarian doesn't make it to the speech, or we both make it to the speech. I wasn't about to give up. Oh no. I called Habib up and I told him, "Where are you?" And then he said to me, "I'm in Issa Town." "But where?" "I don't know where I am." 25 minutes to the clock. How is this gonna happen? "Okay," Habib says, "I'm gonna run to Issa Town Mall." I was like, "Okay, fine." Halfway through, he's like, "I'm at Domino's. Do you know where that is?" "Nowhere close to Issa Town Mall. That's where it is." All right, 15 minutes in the clock. Still not gonna give up. I needed to bring the agendas here, and I need to bring our grammarian. I managed to pick Habib up and do a few illegal things on the way. Fortunately for me, there were no traffic policemen. We got here on time. There was a puddle in front of the center. How was Habib gonna fly out with the agendas? Because that was my initial plan. Get him there first, and then I will join later. We managed somehow, and you guys have your agendas. But these are just small examples of never giving up. In reality, we face a lot more. Tougher things. Things like university. When we start, it seems so easy. But as we go along, it's tough and tough. It's tough to get those A's. But over here, we have a live example of a person who got an A. Got A's in everything, actually. Najla Kambar. She did it. She didn't give up. So why should we? There are things you can do for yourself that help you in this process. The first thing you have to do is remember that you can only move forward. You can't go back. Just like that boy. He couldn't go back to his village. He could only move forward. But he chose to give up, despite the fact that he was moving forward. Time always goes forward. It never goes back. Once you learn that you're moving forward, then it'll be easier for you not to give up. The second thing, which is the hardest part about giving up, picking yourself up. If I had $1 for every time I fell, I would have been a millionaire right now. But if I had $1 for every time I didn't pick myself up, I would have been a billionaire. There are so many things that you would regret in life if you don't pick yourself up. It's hard, but believe me, it's worth it. The next thing is to ask yourself why. Why do you need to do this? Believe me, when I first joined Toastmasters, after my first speech, I wanted to give up. I thought I was no good. It was only until I read in the advanced manual that I could do storytelling that I decided to continue. And it's been my driving force to push through 10 speeches in 3 months. Remember these 3 things when you feel down, when you feel like giving up. They'll be your guidance. They'll help you push through. Thank you. Back to you.
surveys. With the permission of the general evaluator, we would like to allow the first evaluator, Ahmed Rizvi, to give his evaluation before the break, as he has an urgent meeting after the break. So if possible, we'll have him first before the break, and Toastmaster Gurfran, who is situated outside, her speech will continue after the break.
So let's introduce our first evaluator. As I explained earlier, he's our yoga, our inspiration for the distinguished Toastmaster title. Please welcome DTM Ahmed Rizvi.
Thank you, General Evaluator, for giving me permission to evaluate the speech before the General Evaluation brings. Can I ask a question from the audience? Did you all get uplifted and motivated by the speech delivered by Toastmaster Nazreen?
Yes.
Yes.
What did you all think about next step in your life after the speech, when you go home and decide what you will do?
Save an animal.
Yes, animal cruelty. Master of Ceremonies, the Toastmasters, most distinguished guest, and Honorable Area Governor, so Toastmaster Sanjay Al Attar, and the Speaker, Toastmaster Nazreen in particular. Good evening to you all once again. Animal cruelty has been a topic global. How to save animals. Each and every day, when you listen to the BBC, when you read articles, when you read any magazines, important magazines, and especially in Bahrain, there is a drive going on how to save the animals. Now, today's speech from Toastmaster Nazreen is how you all should be inspired and motivated to implement this animal protection. Now, let me come to this. The speech should spiritually, socially, and emotionally motivate you all to take that appeal what the speaker was trying to give it to you. The slides what you all were seeing here was almost cruelty to the maximum to the animals, to the dolphins, the gorillas, and monkeys, etc., and the dog, recent one. And the speaker was able to bring in credibility to the speech by displaying all those slides where we can establish in our minds that animal cruelty should be completely eradicated from our lives. The speaker added stories, anecdotes, and even quotations from the reputed speakers or the writers, and she gave life to the speech and was really able to convince all of us that animal cruelty should not be allowed, not only here in Bahrain or in any place, wherever you are. After the speech, we heard a small cat shouting outside here. So that is part of the speech evaluation. Coming to the speaker. Now today, the speaker was able to incorporate all the skills what was required in the speech, that is from the first project onwards up to the 9th project. Whatever she learned, every tactics she had incorporated in the speech. But today, what I noticed in the speaker was, apart from the voice modulation that could have been improved, the presentation of the slides restricted her movements because she was able to speak only here and she has to handle the visual aids. This restricted the movements which is required in the speech. Overall, the speech was wonderful and met the 99% of the objectives of the project. Congratulations to making as the way to the CZ. And once again, congratulations to GAT for bringing in 4 computer communicators today. Back to you, Master.
Thank you, DTM Ahmed Rizvi, for the evaluation. Now we will take a 10-minute break and then we'll proceed with the rest of the speeches. So please all help yourselves to the snacks.
Okay.